Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here, and I am back for kind of a bonus channel update and other topics video because this train is just not slowing down. This summer has really been pretty darn eventful for gaming, technology, accessibility. Just work has been busy, the channel, and all kinds of stuff. So, we're just going to kind of jump right in and cover a bunch of things. I like to usually start out these videos, welcoming all the new viewers to the channel, to everyone who has been following Illegally Cited for some time. Thank you for your support and views and subscriptions, and definitely, your comments. Everything is definitely appreciated. Yeah, it's been quite a busy month and a half. So, to new viewers of the channel, this is Illegally Cited, and I cover technology, gaming, VR, XR, other geeky and nerdy stuff from a low vision perspective, essentially. I release videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Mondays are stream archives from formerly Mixer and now Twitch. And then Wednesday and Saturday are everything else. Low vision spotlight videos, accessible games, voiceover accessible games, PC audio games, mobile audio games. I just did a little Geek Loot spotlight video for a cool gaming collectible that I recently acquired, which is really, really cool, by the way. Thank you to the team who sent me that. Of course, the Gears of War 4 Lancer replica, badass gun, awesome. But yeah, I mean, so it's like I said, I cover VR content, VR accessibility, all kinds of stuff. So everything is divided into playlists. So definitely check the different playlists out, and you'll probably find something there that'll be of interest to you. Game accessibility, assistive technology, whatever. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm even, coming up, possibly thinking of a few more ideas that I need to get around to starting and recording. So yeah, you never know what you might find here soon. But yeah, so those are when I update. I do also stream on Twitch, although I know it's been very sketchy this summer, this spring. I do apologize for that. Like I said, part of me, I really do enjoy it, but part of me is like, I really kind of like doing the YouTube stuff a little bit better. There's similarities and there are differences, and I just kind of really haven't been in the super frame of mind or motivated frame of mind to do a lot of live streaming lately. Everything's just kind of been so busy. I've kind of like, when I want to just kick back and play a game, I kind of just wanted to, maybe play a game and not be, live all the time. But I said, I'm, the Twitch stuff is a little bit up in the air. I do want to do it from time to time, and I know that, just like being on a YouTube schedule, I've really got that down pat. But if I really do want to continue to do Twitch, I really should do that on a more regular basis. Typically, if I do stream, it's usually on a weekend, Friday or Saturday, the occasional Sunday, but typically on weekends, usually evening, afternoons or evenings. So that's where you'll find me, twitch.tv/illegally cited. You can follow me there as well. But yeah, so like I said, this last month has been quite busy. We've had E3, we had Summer of Gaming, we've had WWDC, we've had Microsoft unveil Windows 11, which in a previous video I did mention. I did a kind of a shorter video reaction about that announcement and some potential frustrations and concerns. Well, here's the funny part. So since doing that, I have this Surface Go tablet that I reviewed on the channel a while back. And when I ran the update checker thingy for Windows 11, it said that, oh, well, the processor doesn't even qualify. Like, it won't even update. but I am running an insider build of Windows 10 because of the work that I'm doing through the Microsoft Low Vision Advisory Board. So I really want to keep up on some of the insider accessibility updates, fixes, and features. Well, I ran a Windows update, and then I went to bed one evening, and lo and behold, unbeknownst to me, when I took a look at the Surface Go the next morning, I happen to have Windows 11. So I have actually played with Windows 11 a little bit, and I have to say, even on a very low spec computer like the Surface Go, now granted I'm not using JAWS or ZoomText, which are typically more memory hogs, especially ZoomText, but like I'm using Windows Magnifier, I've tried NVDA, I've tried Narrator, and even on a system with like 4 gigs of RAM, it actually runs respectively well for the hardware that it's running. Like it actually, it is usable. It's similar to Windows 10 performance, at least so far. Now, I know there's been a lot of hubbub with all this TPM secure management chips and everything, and some computers not being supported, and some extra rigmarole that you're going to have to do, possibly in the BIOS to enable said security to run the final version of Windows 11. Now, because my Surface Go is running Windows 11 now, and I've heard from other YouTubers and websites and things like that, podcasts, that just because you can run the preview, which is a little bit more lax on its requirements, does not mean you'll necessarily be able to run the final build, so you may have to roll back to Windows 10. So when the full version of Windows 11 comes out, we'll see what actually ends up happening to my Surface Go, and if it craps itself and I have to do a whole bunch of stuff to kind of recover Windows 10, or if it stays at 11, or if it's just a seamless rollback. I don't know what's going to happen. But the good news is, at least I'm able to check it out for now. And I am taking a look at, like I said, the different accessibility features of Windows 11, like Magnifier, the themes, the settings. It seems like it's not called the Ease of Access Center anymore. It's actually called Accessibility, which I kind of like, I think. It makes more sense. People generally tend to know accessibility. Like Ease of Access kind of makes sense I think the reason they were going more ease of access before is they kind of wanted to basically, hey, let's make your computer easier to use. And for the people who don't like to identify as disabled, but like, oh, I could make the mouse pointer a little bigger, or you mean I could have a dark background instead of a light background? You're not really calling out an accessibility specifically or a disability specifically, but you're making your computer easier to use. But I think that accessibility has kind of just become the term that the vast majority of people recognize, and so that's what it looks like it is now. But there are some differences. They've kind of tried to streamline some of the items, and then have advanced. You can kind of pull up the advanced options if you want. There are things I'm not at liberty to talk about because I'm under NDA, talking about some insider things. But the things that I'm just mentioning so far right now are in the public beta that anybody can go download now. So I'm not telling anything secret that anyone else couldn't go see for themselves right now. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. I don't have any recording software on the Surface, but what I might be able to do, I might be able to give a sneak peek at Windows 10 if I use System Access and I remote into my Surface Go from my desktop computer here, and then just record it from here. I think I did that once with a Windows 10 preview way back in the day. I showed you guys a public build of Windows 10 back in the day that way. So I might consider doing that when I get a chance at some point, and I've had a little bit more chance to play around. But I might, show you a little bit of the newness and accessibility features and stuff like that. So we'll see. That might be something we can look at. But yeah, so, I got to take a look at Windows 11 a little bit. I also installed iOS or iPad OS 15 on my 2018 iPad Pro. I mentioned that in my M1 iPad Pro review because some of those apps that I wanted to back up from my previous iPad did not make the transition because Apple doesn't allow you to download apps that you have purchased if they are discontinued from the store. That still rather irks me. But I have to say, both in Windows 11 and iOS 15, both of them run pretty well. iOS 15 seems to run pretty fast. VoiceOver is behaving pretty well. I do need to use VoiceOver a little bit more in some of the different areas because the main thing I really, really want fixed, and I would really like to know if it has been at least partially fixed or changed or updated, that focus jumping issue that's been in iOS for at least 3 or 4 versions now has really got to stop. So I haven't really used VoiceOver quite enough to really say whether that has been addressed or not, but I'm really hoping that maybe because it's not like they don't know. I've reported it in several betas. I'm hoping other people have also reported it directly to Apple Accessibility, but there you go. I haven't really had a chance to try to figure out the live text thing in iOS 15 yet, simply because, I haven't had a lot of time to sit down and really dig into it. But when I did try to look at it, I'm not exactly sure how it works yet, because every time I've seen it visually demonstrated in an Apple video or something, somebody's always like, oh, okay, well, here's something in my camera viewfinder. And then I drag a rectangle around said sign or label or whatever text I'm looking at. Well, if I don't know that there's a label there, or if I don't know if it's centered or not, is there sort of an equivalent for VoiceOver users? I haven't quite figured that out yet. In iOS 14, it's sort of doing that when you tap the viewfinder of any camera-based app, and VoiceOver tries to tell you things that are in the scene. Sometimes it'll tell you text, but I found that to be really sketchy, and it seems to work better on shorter items. So if you have 1 or 2 words, it may recognize those, but if you have a fairly big block of text, it doesn't really like to consistently do that. So I don't know. Because the live text thing really does intrigue me, and it does have potential. So I've already submitted some little bugs and possible suggestions, feedback for iOS and Windows 11. So like I said, that's why I'm running them, not just to play around, but to actually try to help and make some meaningful suggestions and identify bugs, not just for accessibility, but just, oh, hey, this doesn't quite work the way it should, or could it do this better? So I've been busy doing that. Work has been very busy. People have been on vacation, so I've been covering for some people. We've been doing a lot of stuff with transition students, so there's stuff with that. Working on this whole lending library thing that it's been a project of mine for a good year or 2 now, so there's a bunch of stuff that I'm working on with that. So yeah, work has just been pretty busy. And then I have had 1 or 2 other, outside of my day job, I have had a couple of consulting gigs, shall we say. Both are kind of under NDA, so I'm not really at liberty to talk about them. But one of them in particular, I was especially happy to hear from because it's something that I've been sort of frustrated and concerned about for a while. That's all I'm really going to say. So yeah, busy. But you know what? I like it though. Like, I have my day job. I love doing this game accessibility stuff, tech accessibility, just digging in there and finding out all this stuff. And, it's really cool to see, like, you make some suggestions or something and report a bug, and then you see it's fixed and like other people can use it. I don't know. It's just a really cool thing to do. So like I said, I'm still doing the Microsoft Low Vision Advisory Board. I'm still part of XR Access, and so we're kind of ramping things up in different groups there. I've been to a couple of those meetings. I think I have another one early next week. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so lots of fun stuff. What else? Oh, yes. If you do not follow Blind Abilities, the Blind Abilities podcast, and you are interested in hearing more of my babble, but with other people babbling just as much as I do, I've done a few episodes in the past, but it looks like I am now going to be a more reoccurring co-host on the tech abilities piece of Blind Abilities, the Blind Abilities podcast. So there's about 4 or 5 of us that get together. So it looks like about every 2 weeks or so. We just had our first real episode this past week. So there's regular Blind Ability shows about all kinds of topics. But then for the tech abilities, there's, I guess, kind of a core group of people that Mr. Jeff Thompson has built up. And so I was invited to be a part of that. And like I said, I've said before that I found that I really enjoy podcasting and just chatting, not even accessibility, but just chatting technology and other nerdy stuff with other people. So this is another opportunity to do that. And definitely check out Blind Abilities. You can follow them on Twitter at Blind Abilities. You can follow their podcast on your podcast player of choice, and you might hear me there from time to time. I think I mentioned this before, but I also did a nice, really long, but fun post E3 show on the Breakdown Walls podcast with Brandon Cole, aka Super Blind Man. So we chatted about E3 and the Summer of Gaming festivities over the past during that past week or two, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah, making a few other guest appearances here and there. The channel itself, like I said, is doing well. I've actually had a lot of bonus videos come out just because, here's a tech announcement. Here's a game event or a tech event or all kinds of stuff. And this one itself, there's a video that I do want to release tomorrow because I know I've had a few requests for me to cover this game, and I actually just have been the developer actually reached out to me out of the blue earlier this week, and so I've been chatting with him a little bit via email back and forth. And so I'm going to be releasing an accessible iOS game video for you guys tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say, but you'll find out soon enough. So I want to release that tomorrow, but this might either be, I don't know, I might release this as a bonus video today, or I might because I haven't done as much streaming lately. Maybe I'll save it for in place of a Monday stream video. I don't know. I'll decide here soon enough. But where was I going with that? So many thoughts traveling through my mind right now. Like I said, there's been a lot of different things on the channel. I mean, just looking at our recent videos, like I said, we've got that Lancer review, Got our Tony Hawk stream. We got our M1 iPad review. Oh yeah, the camera stand. Definitely, if you guys are looking, I've had people ask about iPhone and iPad camera stands. This Belkin tablet stage. Check that video out if you're in the market for a phone or tablet stand, because this is not a cheap, flimsy cardboard monstrosity. It's a really nice but simple tablet stand, and both myself and one of my coworkers really like it. He actually got it first, and I checked it out. I'm like, hey, this actually works. I bought one of those myself. Oh yes, so yeah, the video for the Nintendo Switch OLED model, because they just sprung that announcement on us on Tuesday, and then opened up pre-orders at various retailers online as of yesterday. And, I was on the, as I said in the other video, I was on the fence. I still sort of am. Like, I love OLED, the bigger screen, the brighter screen. I didn't get the earlier Switch update that had a minor battery improvement, so I skipped that update. And I can always cancel the pre-order later if I decide I do want to pass. But currently, yeah, I'm weak. I know. I can't help myself. I did find I had a tech assessment for work with somebody when the pre-orders went live yesterday. But hey, after that I looked and just, I didn't see any on Amazon, or I didn't see any on GameStop. But I found one on Target. And since the pre-order was live, and since it was actually not, they weren't all sold out yet, I figured in case I do want one and it's available, yeah, all right, I'll pre-order the damn thing. So I do have a gray, the gray model, the red and blue Joy-Con Nintendo Switch OLED the OLED pre-ordered. So, and I may have a home for my original Switch if I do follow through with this OLED purchase. Really, like I said, I am kind of excited about it because a better battery, a little, if they're using the better battery, yeah, I wish there was a little processor bump, but the bigger screen, that like OLED just looks so good. Ethernet port, sure, whatever. I don't do a whole lot with Switch Online, so whatever. But I think it will be a nice quality of life improvement. The only thing that I'm really still in reservation of, with the whole pandemic and chip shortage, I don't know if Nintendo intended to make a Switch Pro, but then went, we have all these OLED parts, but there's no way in hell we can get there's no way we can get a new processor line in time to make this happen. So maybe they just said, well, let's make basically the same model Switch, give it an bigger OLED screen, and roll with it for now. If they come out with this, if they do come out with a Switch Pro like next year, then I might be a little pissed, because it's just like, really, now you're doing a real spec jump that'll make things run better. If they come out with one, let's say 3 years from now, that won't bother me so much. Obviously they're already making whatever their new system is going to be, whether it's a new Switch or something completely different. But, if they come out with one like literally, or, sometime next year, like for Breath of the Wild or Breath of the Wild 2 or something, and oh, by the way, yeah, now here's a spec jump that you really wanted. And then for the people who just bought the OLED Switch, we'll be like, damn it, really? So I'm kind of hoping that, because the Switch is doing, the thing is, yes, if they're not going to do the processor bump right now to make the frame rates better, other than that problem, there's really no need to update the Switch. It can play thousands and thousands and thousands of, like, indie games, retro games, like a lot of the stuff you can get on like Steam, and the like 2D platformers and Metroidvanias and a lot of the indie stuff. It'll play that stuff fine. It plays Nintendo's first party lineup, well, mostly fine. I know, like I said, Breath of the Wild, or not Breath of the Wild, Hyrule Warriors, that performance, leaves a little bit to be desired at times, and I've heard other games as well. But, I mean, for the most part, it's doing okay. We still have things like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. We got Metroid Dread coming this October. So, I mean, the system is doing perfectly fine as it is. So, if they do really, once they do release this OLED model, I would be fine, waiting a couple of years for another model, because I don't want to just have immediate buyer's remorse. So yeah, we'll see if I get one of those if I do follow through. Interestingly, so Nintendo goes and announces their Switch tablety thing update, and then another surprise happened yesterday, and somebody else announced their own gaming tablet, so to speak. But we're going to leave that for the end of this video, because we're going to end on that potentially interesting and positive bit of news. The other reason I wanted to chat about this, the other reason I wanted to do this video is, lo and behold, every couple to few months, there's always this new, not new, that's the problem. There's always this reoccurring conversation on social media about difficulty and accessibility and, people whining of easy modes and accessibility features and it's the same, it's the same few arguments and same few things from both sides back and forth, and it just doesn't really go anywhere. I mean, the bottom line is, it started, I think what really started this off again was Double Fine had posted something. There was a few people talking about, there was a little bit of this easy mode discussion happening, and they're saying, hey, you can play on whatever difficulty you want. You playing on normal or hard or whatever, you can play it the way you want to, and if somebody plays a game on easy, they're still beating it just the same as someone playing it on hard. They're just playing it at their skill level or their capacity, and yeah, I play some games on normal, I play some games on hard, I play some games on easy, and I'm not ashamed to say that I do play some games on easy, because maybe it's a really long game and I only have so many hours in the day, so I don't want to I don't want to bash my head against a brick wall trying to get through a story heavy game that lasts 50 hours, but I want to get the gameplay, I want to be able to get the story, but I only have so many hours in the day. Or there are legit accessibility reasons I'll play on easy, because there are things that I may not see in the environment quickly enough, especially in an action or a shooter game, something that blends into the environment, an enemy from off in the distance. Just reacting to different things. So on a higher difficulty, maybe you can only take 1 or 2 shots and poof, you're dead. And by the time I figure out where I'm getting hit from, guess what? I'm dead. So being able to take a few more shots, or having more healing items, or enemies taking less damage because I can kind of or maybe their reaction time is a little bit slower, so they see you, but they don't just instantly, target you, giving you that extra second to try to react and see them. So there are, different reasons where I will play on a lower difficulty, or there are reasons where I might play with a game assist. There is actually a game that I want to record a video for that just came out called Boomerang X. It's a really, really unique take on a retro-ish first-person shooter. And you don't have a bunch of guns. Instead, you have this crazy boomerang with this kind of weird glaive thing with these special abilities. And I can see things mostly okay, except some enemies have weak points, and some of those you have to be pretty precise, and there's a lot of action and fast stuff going on all the time. And so it's hard for me to sort of see the location with the weak points. And you can adjust some of that, but also you have the slow-mo ability that you unlock early into the game. And there are some game mechanic assists that actually can help, like, slow down the game or stabilize things to me, so I can actually more easily, target my crosshair and find said weak point on enemies as I and they are flying through the air. So, definitely look for a video on that, hopefully in the fairly near future. But, those are just some examples of where difficulty modes and game assists and things like that can help. And like I said, this thing really had started again. Double Fine had announced, and I didn't even know this was going to be a thing, but it sounds like they're really considering some accessibility features for Psychonauts 2 coming out in August. Also on Game Pass, by the way, so you want to check it out. Game Pass is awesome. But they announced that, they're going to have an invincibility toggle, and people just lost their minds. What? You're going to make people basically cheat in the game and blah, 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 like, they're not even, why even play the game if you're going to play an invincibility? Personally, I don't have a problem. I've seen a few games have that type of thing. There was that recent 2D game that I can't remember the name of. Really cool action game that I need to finish, by the way. It was this 2D roguelite thing that I saw at the Game Accessibility Conference a few months back. Scourgebringer. That had it. I think... No, Hades doesn't have it. There's another game that had... I think that had an invincibility mode. I think Control does. You can lower the difficulty, or maybe you have a really, really problematic section that you can't see, or maybe you have a mobility impairment where you just can't react in time to dodge an enemy attack, or you can't quite get the coordination to make this platform jump and you keep falling in the lava and have to, go back and try it again. There are legit physical reasons where, hey, an invincibility temporary or permanently while playing the game is fine. And here's the thing. The bottom line, I don't understand why so many people have this problem with difficulty modes, with accessibility. Options are better. If you want more people to play your games, options are good. But the thing is, they're options. Options. What is an option? It means a choice. You can use that if you want to, if you need to. If you don't want to, guess what? You don't have to. That's the thing. If you want to start up the game and play it immediately in hard mode, go for it. If you don't want to use any game assists, don't. It doesn't change at all how you play your game. And if I choose to play it on easy, or if I do use a game assist, guess what? It doesn't change the way you play your game. And it allows me to play the game. So just shut up already, really. That's really what it comes down to. It's not like it's going to ruin... Me choosing a different setting isn't going to ruin the game for you. You can play it how you want. I can play it how I want. We all win. Now, of course, there are some caveats in like a multiplayer. Excuse me a second, I'm going to get a drink of water. There are some caveats when you're in a multiplayer game. And, like if you have, let's say, either a lock-on or if you have some sort of like a handicap or like a health assist, sometimes they program that sort of option into some games. But, for the vast majority, you don't want to give certain types of options. It it kind of could give an unfair advantage in some player versus player scenarios. Now, if it's player like cooperative, like what's the word I'm looking for? PvE, player versus environment, like a Left 4 Dead, where you are, yes, you can play versus, but like if you're cooperatively playing the campaign and you're not, you're cooperating to help each other, and one person has maybe an aim assist because they can't aim as quickly, you're still cooperatively helping each other, and it's really not going to hurt the experience, even in that kind of a scenario. So, aside from some multiplayer scenarios here and there, like I said, it just doesn't matter. And really, this is all I'm going to say about that. Like, I don't want to chime in on this every, like I haven't even joined the Twitterverse back and forth on this again because I don't, I haven't really, I don't know if I've done a video on this before. I might have, but like I said, this happens, you get the Sekiro thing, you had another thing, and now you have, I don't even remember what they all are, but like every couple months, every few months, that's just the same thing goes back and forth, and you get all these people that are just offended and, absolutely angry that how dare you dumb down our video games and make them playable for more people. I don't know. I don't get it. But that I did want to chat about that a little bit because I don't remember if I've even done that to an extent on the channel. So yeah, there's no difficulty and difficulty and accessibility. There's a balance, but like, and then the other people will say, oh, well, yeah, but if, I know I don't have to use the options, but if they're there, then I have the incentive that I can use them if I get stuck, and then I can just wimp out and rely on them. Well, that's on you then. That's just a personal character strength, man. If you don't want to use the assists, yes, they're there, but if you really want to use them, go ahead and use them, but don't blame us because you chose to lower the difficulty. That's on you. You can play it however you want to. It's just a whole weird argument, but I don't know. Enough of that nonsense. I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I was going to say about that accessibility. I think I fairly well summed it up there. Options are better, I like how games are becoming more inclusive, and not just with accessibility features, but like you have like more of a story mode for some games. You have more like combat heavy. You even have different difficulties for, like, maybe I love combat and I like that to be challenged, but I suck at puzzles, or vice versa. There's been a few games that have done that. I think like Spider-Man and the recent Tomb Raider games have done that. That's great. And speaking of more games that are more inclusive, I have to mention this. I have still not gotten around to Diablo 3. I own it on the Xbox, and I had fully intended to play it, and it's another game on my just mountain of shame here, pile of shame. But Diablo 2 Remastered, just on the passing Twitter question that somebody asked earlier this week, Blizzard apparently came right out and said and confirmed the Diablo 2 Remaster is going to have text-to-speech support at launch, and over time they are going to try and add actual full screen reader support. So you'll have some, I don't know how extensive the text-to-speech support initially is going to be, but on top of that, adding full screen reader support later, that's awesome. And I think one of the reasons I haven't gotten into the Diablo games yet, I've wanted to and I've meant to, but again, there's all these games that have like so much of this, inventory management and skill trees and reading a bunch of tiny text and comparing this number to that number and this perk to that perk. And I just, like I said, I have limited time as it is. I don't want to sit there constantly comparing items. But as more of these titles like Minecraft Dungeons and the Ubisoft games have added this text to speech, so I can be like, oh, I can just listen to what the skill tree is. I can compare my inventory. Beautiful. And I've played a little bit of Diablo 2 back in the day. I played a little bit more of Diablo 1, but I've played both, and with text to speech, if it reads, especially the inventory management stuff, hell yeah, man, I'm there. That will be the step. That will be really what I think I need to probably more quickly jump into a Diablo. So I probably will be checking that out when it comes out. I think it's mid to late September is when the Diablo 2 remaster is coming out. So yeah, that kind of made my day. A game like that, having text-to-speech, heck yeah, I'm all about that. So that is cool. And we're going to wrap up this video. I know we've chatted about a lot of different things so far. And as I said with the Switch OLED model, there is another tablet that is going to be coming out. This one in December. The Steam Link. Yep. Just like the, God, what do they call it? I have one in my closet. I don't even think I've opened it because I picked it up on like a Steam sale for like $5. I think it was called the Steam Link. Or this is the stream. Yeah, the Steam Link is the old thing. This is the Steam Deck. There's also a Stream Deck that is made. I think that's an Elgato thing, and so I kind of got everything all jumbled together. I apologize. But as you see from this little animation here, you basically have a fairly high-end PC, and this is a full-fledged PC crammed into a little bit larger size casing, but very similar in like concept and shape as the Nintendo Switch. You have ABX. Okay, so I mean, you have your tablet. Unfortunately, it is not OLED. It looks like it is a 7-inch LCD screen, which is okay. I mean, there's some good LCDs. I mean, even, that's okay, but I was kind of hoping for OLED. Looks like you've got the two, bumper trigger on each controller. You've got your ABXY. You do have the two, back buttons below on each side, like on the Xbox Elite controller that I reviewed. You have those extra buttons, and everything can be reconfigured. You have two analog sticks, and you have some touch. Let me see if I can click on... Okay, I'll find a picture below here. I'll try to find another picture so we can kind of look more closely at it. But, I mean, it kind of looks like a Switch, except the thing that strikes me is that the controller part on either side of the screen, where like the Joy-Cons would be, they seem thicker. One of my major complaints about the Joy-Cons on the Switch, and why I got so many of those extra, like the Pro controller, and then I got those other big controllers that I always forget the name of, but that I still use on my Switch today. I have big hands, and it's just not comfortable to scrunch these little flat Joy-Cons, and just this looks way more ergonomic, I think. Now, the analog sticks are not offset like they are on a like an Xbox controller. This kind of takes more of like the PlayStation thing where, like everything is all kind of in one line. It's not offset like some of the other controllers are. But from people who have done, like IGN has had first impressions of it, and they say it actually was quite comfortable, even just after a couple minutes of use. So, we're looking at an AMD powered mobile tablet, essentially, 7-inch screen, AMD powered. They're comparing the processor and graphics performance to somewhere around a Xbox One PS4 era. But in one of the Q&A things they did with IGN that I saw yesterday, even though it's a little bit lower spec and they're aiming for a 720p display, I mean, you're looking at a 7-inch screen. You don't need 4K. But because you're targeting such a lower resolution, it still sounds like it's going to support some ray tracing. So games that support ray tracing will be able to do that. Now, I don't know like to what degree, so I don't know how it's going to compare to like an RTX card. It's, they say you're going to be able to run a lot of your modern games on medium to high settings and be able to run them pretty well. So they did mention, like I said, in the Q&A, they did mention ray tracing once or twice. Not much, but they did mention that it would have some of that capacity. So that is interesting. We'll scroll down here. There's going to be 3 models of this thing because you can technically pre-order this. I'm looking at the Steam. This is the Steam page. And the Steam Deck is available for pre-order today. $399 for a 64 gig model. $529 for a 256. $649 for a 512 gig storage. And they also say basically if you get one of the higher storage models, all of them have SSDs, but I think the 256 and for sure the 512 are going to have NVMe drives. So there is going to be a performance increase on the higher models, not because of the processor. All the GPU, the CPU, 16 gigs of RAM on all of these things, that's all going to be the same. But with the NVMe storage, you are going to notice some load time and possibly some light performance improvements due to the disk access speed. And they also do say you're going to have SD card support, so micro SD card expansion. So even if you get some of the lower or middle model and you want to add more storage, thankfully you can add additional storage. And especially you put some of your indie games on there and leave your really beefy stuff for the internal memory so we can access things faster. That seems like the way to go. Okay, we got our little processor there, I think. I'm just kind of scrolling. Okay, yeah, showing the analog stick. I think they're already saying, we don't think this is going to have analog drift like the Switch does. You got your screen. I forgot to mention, so in addition, you have your D-pad and analog stick on the left, of course, and then your 2 L buttons, and then your 2 back buttons on the lower part on the back. On the right, you have your ABXY and your other analog stick. You've got your right trigger, your right bumper, and then your 2 back buttons down below. And below the actual touchscreen, yes, it is a 7-inch touchscreen, there are a couple of touch pads similar to the technology that they put in the Vive VR controllers. So you have a lot of different input methods, and they're thinking behind the touch pads, I guess, was that games that don't really work well with analog sticks, if you want something more mouse type controlled, like a real-time strategy game or something like that, you could use the touchpad or touch screen. So they're cramming a bunch of stuff into this little piece of technology. Here's the thing. I this year is going to be brutal. There's so many things I want, and I'm such a nerd. I can't stay away from this stuff. I would so love to just pre-order this thing, but there's a couple things that make me really hesitate. One being, Valve has not had a really great track record in supporting hardware. They worked with HTC on the Vive, and then they kind of discontinued that, and HTC went and did their own thing, and then da-da-da-da-da. But, I mentioned the Steam Link earlier. They supported that for a short while, and then they just kind of dumped that. They had the Steam controller. I have one of those Steam controllers. I did a review of said Steam controller, which was neat in theory, but it was weird, man. No analog sticks. You had those. Just look up my review for this under the hardware review for the Steam controller, man. It was weird. You had these two analog, trackpad things instead of analog sticks, and I couldn't get used to it. It was weird. It had some really neat ideas, a lot of interesting customization ideas, but it was just weird. So they kind of abandoned that. So depending on how well this catches on, are they going to support this long term? Are there going to be new versions every year, every other year? Who knows? Is it going to be this kind of regular smartphone tablet cycle of, every other year or two, we're going to, release a new model. Maybe next year they'll give us an OLED model or whatever. I don't know. But my other major reason for hesitating, as much as I would love, because, I know people have a love-hate relationship with Steam. I have literally, and I'm not exaggerating, I have thousands of games on Steam. And to be able to play them portably, that's awesome. Heck yeah. There's been other devices that I've watched some video reviews for, and I've almost been tempted to look at some of those, but a lot of those are these weird Chinese knockoff computers that are kind of crammed into a shell like this, but actually some of them look pretty good. But this one looks like it's got a decent balance of power and affordability. But my major potential problem with this does not run Windows. This runs SteamOS, their updated version of SteamOS, which is based off of Linux. Now, I know there are some flavors of Linux that do have accessibility features, screen readers, magnifiers. I have not played with Linux in probably a good 15, 20 years. I was going to... In about 2011, I just installed some weird flavor of Linux on a netbook, and that's about all I ever did with it. I never really played with it. I never had time. I've played with Debian before. I've played with Linux before. I've played with Red Hat back in the day. I've used a few different distros of Linux, but this is Valve's own kind of flavor, their own sort of skin or spin on top of Linux. And Valve is not known for really embracing accessibility. Steam is pretty usable if you are low vision and you can use magnification. There are some aspects that are still a little bit confusing. But low vision wise, magnification wise, it's okay. It's weird, but it's okay. I know some people do navigate it with screen readers and have had some success. I haven't really had the patience because I have the ability to kind of cheat and use my vision. I use a combination of speech and screen reader and magnification to navigate Steam typically, but they just really haven't been known to really support any form of let's make our platform really work well with a screen reader. They just have never really shown much, if any, interest in that at all, let alone any other accessibility. I don't want to just focus on blindness. Um, they've never really seemed to care much or do much in that area. And on a small 7-inch screen, if there is no magnification, I mean, even on my Switch now, if I play it in handheld mode, even Nintendo has a magnifier feature, which I use all the time. If I knew or could confirm that this Steam that this Steam Deck here, if I knew that it would have at least some base level of accessibility, I might consider giving it a shot. And here's the other problem. How many times I've seen probably a good dozen, 2 dozen tweets, even in the last day and a half, from various people chatting, not even people with disabilities, but people chatting about small text size in general. Okay, if you even are fully sighted and you have trouble seeing text, whether it's subtitles, menus, stat screens, anything, if you have trouble reading that on a big TV or a computer monitor, imagine how small this text is going to be on a 7-inch screen. Granted, you're running stuff at 720p, but I'm just thinking, man, like something that's designed for 1080p or 4K and they don't do text scaling or they don't have font size options, it is going to be a biatch to read some text on a 7-inch screen, with or without magnification. And if you have low vision on top of that, that's going to be rough. But here, after I was thinking about it, here's a potential upside, though. And this takes, you couldn't rely on this right away for sure. But coming up long term, I hope that this form factor is successful. Because here's the thing. This thing launches in December. If it launches and even fully sighted people, like I said, accessibility doesn't matter until it affects me. Who cares about accessibility? Until it affects me. So all these fully sighted individuals who go out and play games on this Steam Deck, they start playing these games and go, holy crap, I can't read anything on this screen because text is so small. So guess what? Now, accessibility does affect them. So one of two things, or both, could happen. If the Steam Deck takes off and these tablet-style PCs, gaming PCs, start becoming a thing, because Valve also said that, hey, this is kind of our example, and hey, we're willing to give the Steam OS to other developers if they want to make a similar type of gaming computer tablet-y thing. But let's say this form factor becomes popular, but you get all these really pissed off sighted people of saying, I can't read the interface in your game. I can't read the interface in whatever. Developers are going to have to really start to scramble and rethink long term going forward that, hey, maybe we can't just have all of our text microscopic the way we have been. Like people have been saying it before, but especially now that people are playing on portable devices and not on their 50-inch TVs or their 30-inch monitors, you're playing on a little 7-inch screen. Steam themselves, maybe they will have text size options eventually in SteamOS because it's going to be required. Or maybe like more developers are going to have to post-launch add font scaling, text scaling, font size sliders, just general. You remember in the standard definition of gaming where like menus were typically big. Like you would have this giant main menu, your setting screens were typically pretty big. And then we went HD, and then everything went like, look at all these pretty colors in our environments and our backgrounds. So let's cram this little menu in the bottom corner or cram it on the left side of the screen as small as possible so that we can look at this animated background. So I kind of hope that we do return to a more user-friendly, larger user interface, just because you are going to be playing, and especially with things like Game Pass and game streaming and everything, Steam Cloud, all the, Stadia, all these different things, you can play PCs or console games via these streaming services on an iPhone, on an iPad, Android phone, whatever. Everyone isn't going to be playing these AAA games on their big home TV. Yeah, a lot of people will, but a lot of other people will want to play them on a portable device like this. So going forward, this, if this type of form factor is popular enough, just by design, developers are going to have to really, I think, start considering making larger text, because now it affects the fully sighted people because they can't see it on their small screens. So that could potentially be, I wouldn't say at launch, but it could potentially be a delayed upside. Is maybe this will be the catalyst to make things actually make the industry start realizing, maybe we should actually consider some font scaling and text size slider options. So yeah, that is the Steam Deck launching this December. And I'm staring at this animation. I'm staring at this thing going, God, I want one. If I just knew that this thing was going to have any form of accessibility in it at all, I don't know. It would be bad, but I would probably consider getting one of these things. Because like I said, I literally have a few thousand games that I've built up in the last 20 years in my Steam library. And to be able to play them anywhere would be kind of great. I mean, even like there are times where like, a lot of people, yeah, you can play on your couch and play on your big TV. Well, being legally blind, even on a bigger TV, I have to sit close. So I can't sit across the room on my comfy couch or my recliner and play a game on my big TV. I will sit in my one of my office chairs, either in front of my computer screen or in my old office chair in front of my TV, and I will sit close to the monitor. So, having a larger but small screen, like that's kind of why I like playing the Switch in handheld mode. I can kick back in my recliner. I can play it on my couch or wherever. Yeah, to be able to play some of the PC stuff and just kind of relax, that'd be great. So, I know this has been another long video, surprise, surprise. But there's a lot I wanted to talk about. Good, bad, otherwise. Lots of stuff on the channel coming up. Stay tuned for that. We've got probably some more hardware reviews. We got some more Geek Loot Spotlight videos. We got some accessible games coming. We got at least one or two more of those that I need to record. We got a fun one coming up tomorrow. So I have seen your comments. people asking like, hey, can you cover this game? Can you cover that game? I have read your comments, and like I said, some of you have requested tomorrow's game a few times, so that will be coming, and there's another one I just downloaded that we'll probably be taking a look at here in the fairly near future as well. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys found it helpful. Thanks again to everybody for following and supporting the channel. And like the video if you did. Subscribe if you aren't a subscriber already. And you can definitely check me out again on the Tech Abilities, Blind Abilities podcast going forward as well. But you can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, Twitch, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.